Hey, hope you're having a great afternoon, guys, and it's just beautiful sunshine here. It's all streaming in through the window after some glorious rain this morning. So jumping in, I was speaking to one of my gorgeous clients this morning, and I really wanted to share this because I could hear how much it was going to transform her life, and it's also made a massive difference to my life as well. Hey, Christy, great to have you on. Hey, Sarah, lovely to have you on, darling. So this is something that really can play out in a very innocent way, but can be really, really hurtful in relationships as well. And so I want to chat to you guys and share something that's really changed my life, because when this is playing out, all sorts of misperceptions can happen, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes you might feel like, hey Vaughn, how are you? Hey Donna, hey Marguerite, great to have you guys on. So sometimes it can happen where like you feel like you're giving so much to somebody, or you're doing all of these things, and they just don't get it, or they just feel like they're upset because they feel like you don't love them and you're feeling unloved, and there's all this like funky stuff kind of going on in the relationship. What it can be is the 5 love languages. So if you've never heard of the 5 love languages, I'd really encourage you to go to 5lovelanguages.com. The guy Gary Chapman wrote a book years and years ago, and he's got like various forms of the book, like 5 love languages for children, 5 love languages for partners, all that kind of stuff. So thank you so much for sharing, Donna, and we'll definitely be touching on that, sweet. So this is, like I said, some of the most profound stuff. It's such a simple thing, and yet just can change relationships in such a dramatic way in a very short space of time, simply by understanding what your love language is and what your partner's love language is. And because quite often we've got all of these different expectations. Oh, if they really love me, they'd be doing this, or if they really love me, they'd say that, or they show up in a different way, or they'd spend time with me and they're not doing any of that. So there's 5 different primary ways that we actually give and receive love. Now, whatever your primary love language is will be the way that you most express love as well. This is also incredibly healing in our relationships with our children, or with other family members, or even with friends as well. So it's something that you can really shift and change. It is Vaughn, isn't it? I just loved it. Hey Katrina, great to have you on, darling. So I'll run through them really quickly, but maybe the best way to start really exploring this for yourself is to jump onto the website, and you can do a free quiz and just find out what is your main love language, and then you can communicate more effectively in your relationships as well, and maybe start to explore what your love language is, what your partner's love language is, what your kids' love language is, because it makes it really simple, easy, and effective when you know what somebody's love language is, because now you're speaking in their language. So the first love language, and these are in no particular order, I'll just run through them. So one of them is words of affirmation. So what we say, so oh my God, you're amazing, or you're wonderful, or thank you so much, or I appreciate you. So words, using words as a way to really express our love and our gratitude for having somebody in our life. Hey Corinne, great to have you on, darling. Who else is thank you for all the rainbows as well, Katrina. Second one, physical touch. So hugs, kisses, all of that beautiful physical touch. It can be obviously on a intimate, like on a sexual nature, or anything else, but really at the end of the day, it could just be like an arm on the shoulder, or just like a beautiful, deep, warm hug that's really sincere. We also have acts of service. So this is doing things for other people. This might be whether it's doing some laundry, or like preparing like amazing meals, or taking care of the dishes, or like fixing the bike, or washing the car, like any of that stuff. It's really like acts of service, things that we can do to make life easier for others. Another one that we also have is gifts. So that might be buying a beautiful gift, and it's really like the amount of thought that goes into the gift is the most important factor with all of this as well. It is so powerful, isn't it, Corinne? So the other one, so we've got acts of service, we've got, I'm just trying to think of what the other one is, and it has escaped my mind temporarily as well, so I will come back to that one. But what actually happens, oh, it's quality time, there you go, it just popped straight into my head. Hey Steph, great to have you on. So a conflict that can often come up is if one partner's love language is quality time and the other is acts of service, you'll have one partner that's like off and they're like doing all this stuff, like trying to make this other person's life better and taking care of them in all of these amazing ways by doing all of these things for them, and yet the other person is left sitting on the couch going, oh my god, they don't love me, because if they did, they'd be sitting here beside me, they'd be spending time, they'd want to spend time with me. And it's kind of like it can create so many misunderstandings in relationship as well. Thanks so much, Steph, that's gorgeous of you. And hey Kelly, great to have you on, sweet. So this is one of the things that is just so powerful as well in shifting things. So by having a conversation with your partner in, you know, how do they most feel loved? Now the other thing that kind of plays out here, when two people first meet, generally we're doing all of those 5 love languages. So we'll be doing things for them, we'll be saying nice things, but over time, thank you so much, Vaughn, that's great. And yes, when I shared this with my client this morning, hey Joey, great to have you on. Thanks, Steph. That's so beautiful. Now I've totally lost my train of thought with all this love and everything else coming in. That's so lovely. Hey Imogen, great to have you on. When we first meet somebody, generally we're doing all the 5 love languages, but over time we'll come back to our primary love language. And so this is what, like, over time really starts to create these greater challenges as well. Hey Kirby, great to have you on. Hey Dave, great to have you on. And so you've got one person that's going and doing all of these things, and the other person sitting on the couch feeling unloved, yet their partner's like infuriated because it's like, what do you mean I don't love you? I've just done this, this, and this for you. And the person's like, no, well, I don't really care about that. That doesn't matter to me. And so it creates this kind of ongoing conflict in the relationship as well. One of the things that, you know, it shifted my relationship with one of my daughters, where her love language was quality time. Mine was physical touch. So I'd like give a quick hug and like my bucket be full, and I would think that she would be okay. And she's like, you don't love me. And I'm like, why don't you think that? Like, it was so frustrating to me as a parent, because it was like, oh my God, of course I love you. Here, let me hug you. And it wasn't until I understood this where I'm like, oh my God, she just needs my presence. At the time, I was starting a business. I was like a single mom. I was working 4 days a week and I was studying. So like, I didn't exactly have a lot of quality time. So when I learned that, it was like, oh my God, if I can just give her like even 10 minutes of just like not running grocery lists, not thinking about other things, not on my phone or anything else, but just true quality time, then it just changed everything for us. This was like a lot of years ago. Hey Caroline, great to have you on. Hey Julie, lovely to see you on here, darling. So if anybody's got any questions around this, please let me know, but I'll pop the website that you can jump in and do your own questions with this as well, so you can really get clarity around what your own love language is, because if you're feeling hurt, chances are your love language is actually not being met by the people around you. And so by articulating this, you'll have more fulfilling relationships, but you can also use it as a way to introduce these concepts into that relationship as well, and find out more about what hits the spot for the other person. So you know, this again was revelational for another client of mine years ago, where she bought her parents this amazing cruise, to go on, and they were like, oh, thanks darling, but yeah, that's okay, like you can go on it if you want, like we're not really interested in that, like we're happy just kind of here on the farm. And she was devastated, like so devastated, and she just couldn't get it. She couldn't fathom why they didn't want to take this trip, and she was so hurt because she felt like she'd given all of this love and it was being rejected. And And when she heard about the love languages, she was like, oh my God, their love language is quality time. All they want me to do is just go and sit at the farm with them and have a regular lunch, or like go and catch up with them as well. So, hey Beck, great to have you on, gorgeous. Thank you, sweetie. Hey Bernie, great to have you on as well, sweet. I'll get to your message shortly as well too, babe. So this was super, super profound, just in really understanding. And when she understood that, she was like, my love language is gifts, and there's this quality time. So take some time to discover what that is. Share that with your loved ones tonight. Just, maybe it's a conversation, a tea conversation. And absolutely, Steph, look, nobody likes rejection at all. But the more that we can come back to loving ourselves and appreciating ourselves and having a deeper understanding and awareness of what we need to do to fill up our own love bucket. And if anybody has been following me for some time, you know that I talk a lot about self-love, and generally external relationships are a reflection of how we're actually feeling or how we're communicating with ourselves as well. So if you're finding that you are feeling hurt in relationships, come back to loving you, taking great care of you, doing all of the things. So quite often people are like, oh, they don't put me as number one. In that instance, we're actually wanting to put ourselves as number one. But we've been indoctrinated in so many different ways around this as well. Hey Katie, great to have you on, gorgeous. Hey Lisa, lovely to have you on, honey. And absolutely, Vaughn, and I think, it's because of we've got so many rules and regulations of how we feel like we need to be as women in order to love and accept ourselves. And self-acceptance is one of the hardest things to do. I've been doing very deep inner work on myself for a long time now, and still come up with challenges of bits of myself that I don't necessarily like to own or have. And, that can be really, really challenging as well. Hey, Trish. Lovely to have you on, gorgeous. So definitely explore the 5 love languages. It's one facet, but the more that you understand how you can feel more love in your heart, then you'll find that other people will reflect that for yourself as well. So definitely super, super important. Self-love all the way. And Donna, if this is something that comes up for you too, darling, maybe explore some ways that you really can start to love and appreciate yourself more. I've got a free ebook as well, 11 ways to love yourself. I might pop that below since we've got some self-love stuff coming up there as well for people. Jump in, grab that. It's literally the way that I transformed my whole life by learning how to love myself. I was at a very low point in my life in 2008. I had a series of things happen. My marriage broke down and my mum passed away shortly after from terminal cancer, and it was a really difficult time in my life. And so I share in this particular book how I learned to overcome some of my greatest challenges and learn how to love me more. And my relationships since then have just been a beautiful reflection of how I've grown in my own self-love. And generally, the way that we treat ourselves is how that will be reflected back to us. So by taking ownership and letting go of blame in relationships is one of the most empowering things that we can ever do for ourselves as well, particularly if self-love is playing out there. So big love. Hey, Catherine, lovely to have you on. Have an amazing day, guys. So much love and gratitude to you all for jumping in and tuning in, and I hope that's been of value for you. I'll put those other resources just down below, and I'm off to love myself and nurture myself by heading to the gym now as well, so I'll go do that. Hey Steph, thank you so much. Have an amazing day, guys. Lots of love. Bye.